Hello friends, good morning. Well, it's noon time here in Westmont, Illinois. Welcome to my ad hoc ranting uh, internet show. So today is a specific subject. I'm reading and hearing about things going on in India, insulting of the Prophet Muhammad, and I don't know why they're making a big deal out of it, really. Whether someone says so and so says so. Now, during the time of, ever since the Prophet came about or started his mission until now, that's nearly 1450 years ago. His legacy, his life, his work, his mission was not void of criticism or insults or attacks, or they even tried to kill him. You know, the Jews during his time tried to kill him, and they pride on themselves sometimes on having poisoned him and killed him at the age of 60 between 60 and 61. Not true, folks. And there later, even the Catholic Church wrote books about him, and they portray him as devil and so on and so forth. So people coming at him is not something new to Muslims if you're knowledgeable and understand history or have knowledge of history. So that's not a problem for us. And it actually begs the question, what is it about that book and that man that like his followers are the most in the world and so on, that makes some people hate him? Have you ever, and I heard this and I read this before, that the staunchest opponents or polemic opponents of Prophet Muhammad and the Quran and so on, eventually they convert to his religion, right? But here, let's discuss some facts. I'm just going to discuss some facts, just like I addressed the burning of the Quran in Sweden. The burning of the Quran in Sweden is a dubious act, and it has some sinister political motives behind it, and there are probably higher powers behind it. I don't care, and I don't know who are behind it. Well, I'm making an assumption it's the regimes in Syria and Iran, and the brothers of Netanyahu and so on. But that's a foregone conclusion. I don't believe that. I don't believe that that Swedes are so uninitiated that they will not see through this. Some of them may, some of them may not. But their daily lives and concerns and family and work and business and chores and like, I think they don't want to even see that thing. And I understand their position about wanted to stay isolated a little bit, because if they open up the immigration, the floodgates will open from Africa and Asia and the Middle East and so on. Why? Because those people in their countries, they're under a dictatorship, under Stalinist, Leninist states, even though they're not named so. But let's go back to India. I heard that this guy is saying that the Prophet married Aisha at age 6. That's not true, folks. She was 12 and a half years old when she was married, when he married her. Now, is that young? Oh, that's pretty young. But back then and even now, things like this still going on in the world. So, for example, the modern, in a Muslim country, in a Muslim society, regardless whether it's in Arabia or anywhere else, 12 and a half is no longer getting married. So it's a matter of social structure and so on and so forth, or social norms and so on. Now, in modern day, certain Jews do marry 12 years old. And I know some of them to be like in an island in Jerba off the coast of Tunisia, I believe. Yeah, they still marry each other at 12 years old and so on. So I also know that some of them do actually designate which man is gonna marry which woman from whenever they're born. Whenever a child is born, if it's a boy, or if it's a girl, they designate this to that, and that's it. When they grow up, they don't have to go look or date or anything else. They just know that this is the wife and this is the husband. has some advantages, but big disadvantages, believe me. So that said, there is also in the West. Now, I used to hear when I came to this country in 1981, and in Europe as well, I saw that sexuality is so liberal, so free that in the United States, it's like communism, sexual communism, right? You know, like everybody gets everybody else. But when I came here, I used to hear a saying that goes, "Where do you find a virgin?" And the answer to that joke, like that sickly joke, I remember it used to be thrown around and here and there. Even I heard it even on radio. Third grader and ugly. Ugly third grader is the one that is a virgin. That's, I mean, to me, they gloat about it. They used to gloat about it. And sure enough, sexuality is liberal here, even in schools and so on and so forth. Not that I approve of it or agree with it. I'm a Sunni Muslim. I have a certain way of doing things. I can only get married, and all Sunni Muslims can only have relationships through marriage. All right, back to Aisha. So she was definitely 12 and a half. Let's take that a little bit further. Outside of Islam, before it's born and then after it was born, and that's Sunni Islam. In that realm of Islam, and those who adhere to it as Sunnis, outside of it, there's literally no restrictions on sexuality. I even watched a movie one day myself, a French movie, and I don't recall what it is. And they're propagating sexuality with minors. I mean, you see that everywhere. So, so outside of Islam, there is no regulation on sexuality, really. I mean, happens, right? And even here in the US, I used to hear people that a lot of people are abused by their family members. A lot of girls are abused by their family members and so on. And there's a big story. I remember that was made a movie, a certain woman who became a prostitute, and she would kill the customers after she hooks up with them and takes the money, and she takes them somewhere and she kills them. And then you would hate her for being so and so. But no, not us Sunnis. And I looked at her story and they made a movie out of it. Turns out that the woman has been abused whenever she was like very, very young. She became pregnant by either close relative or something like that. And when she gave birth, the child was taken away from her, and nobody knows what it is. And the woman had to fend for herself ever since she was a teenager, or even younger than that. So the horror stories in the West disqualifies you from criticizing a formal marriage to a 12 and a half years old. Am I saying, you guys are completely out of it? No, no, no. Am I saying that we Muslims are completely in it? No, no, no. But back then and now, there is 12 and a half years old was something, not now, back then was something doable, in Islam, our concept is the woman in her psyche, in her unconscious, in her subconscious. When she grows, she is attached. First, there are similar to us growing limbs, right? When we are born, like when we're in the womb, the brain comes first, but then it grows limbs, hands and arms, and a woman's psyche is geared toward her children. A woman's connection in life, that's to us Muslims. A woman's connection to life and existence is really her offspring, her children. That's her most important, most critical part of her life. I'm not saying she's a machine just giving birth. No. But psychologically speaking, that's the majority of women's psychology in relationship to life and so on, is the relationship to her children. More than man, of course, right? Man does, but the father does. But no, a mother is really connected directly to her children, and her existence makes sense only for her is when she has children. And I challenge every woman on this planet to come and prove me wrong, right? So that's it. Okay, Mary Magdalene? Oh, I don't know. What do you guys call her? She gave birth to Jesus. She was 13 years old when she gave birth to Jesus. Meaningly, she was pregnant when she was like 12, maybe, 12. Now, supposedly Joseph of Arimathea, who married her a little bit later, was 99 years old or something like that. No? Okay. Let's go about India. You know, India, he's saying that 6 years old and so on and so forth. What does he know about India of the last century and before, Hinduism in particular? I have seen a video, a footage, black and white in the last century or probably late 1800 or early 1900. Was taken, I think, by some English photographer. They used to have practices that they should really be ashamed talking about anything, anybody else, you know, especially us Muslim or anybody else. I remember if a husband dies, a woman is supposed to throw herself alive on his pyre, onto his pyre. You know how they cremate dead people and so on. And she would come, and I've seen that footage. A woman, a young woman in the middle of her, you know, middle-aged woman. She was fidgeting around because she doesn't want to jump in the fire, and everybody was watching, right? And she jumped in the fire. The video was cut off. You know, they don't. When I saw that video, when I watched that video, I was horrified. You know, like, and then their sexuality, Kama Sutra, and it shows you some of their temples are ornamented and decorated with statues, you know, of Kama Sutra, and you would see men, you know, with very small girls on their laps, you know, like I don't want to be vivid in description and so on and so forth. So Hindus, don't come and sell us that bullshit, man. The best status of a woman ever, ever, and still is and will always be, is under Sunni Islam, period. A woman is provided for, a woman becomes a mother, a woman is respected, a woman is human, and so on and so forth. Now you may say, in your Quran there are things like, you know, it says hit them, right? Hit them. Number one, yeah, that's there, but I'm gonna explain it to you guys. And I've seen an example in the West about why sometimes you need to do that. So hold on to your seat. I'm moving my seat now so I can position myself better in front of the camera. Prophet says, when he was asked, he said, don't hit them like where you really make them painful, you know, things painful, you know, like ضربا غير مبرح, like not real beating, right? And I may say, still that's bad. Oh, of course, sometimes. When I came to this country, and it hit me, you know, like we don't think all the entire Islamic set of literature and knowledge, which is like millions of volumes, on our mind every day. Like we don't see it. And so I started here. I was like, what, 18? No, 19 probably. 19, yeah. I was 19 when I came to this country. So I didn't like become a millionaire right away. Neither am I now. This money, the Syrian regime people whom I was married out of, stole all the money, and their cohorts here in the United States, the Jews and so on and so forth. They're all Jews, right? I was married to a Jewess. Anyways, I worked in a gas station, and one day comes this like very large woman, like white, you know, like real woman, right? And it used to be a full service. So I ran out, you know, I was a young guy, you know, getting paid, I don't know, like $3 an hour or whatever it is. You know, put the gas nozzle in there, in her tank, and started filling up and check the tire. But I look at her, and she was like very tough woman. And then she started talking to me like down to me, like very pretty tough tone, right? You know, those Mexicans, blah blah, meaning me. Yeah, she thought I was a Mexican. Well, that could be, I don't care, right? Blah 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 blah. You know, like, and I was first I was like a little bit shocked by the speech, by the reprimand, you know, and the scorn and dressed down and tough talk, you know, that she was coming at me, and eventually she became vulgar, right? But then I come from Syria, you know, I'm not accustomed for somebody to talk to me like this, so I shouted her back, and I outshouted her, and she went silent, right? And I was fine, and she left. Lo and behold, next day she comes and she parked not on the gas pump, but elsewhere. And then I come to help her. I thought she wanted to fix like a flat tire or something, that I wanted to fix her flat tire. And I come and she says, look, you know, I'm here to apologize for yesterday and blah, blah, and blah, blah. uh, and I don't mean you, I just mean the Mexicans, right? She was a white woman, probably Germanic or Scandinavian. Scandinavian. And I said, "Oh no, don't worry about it," and all that stuff. But she says, "No, you're nice," and all and so forth. And then I said, "Okay, don't worry about it," and then she left, right? But then I knew why she was back. This woman basically has never had a man behind, like they say in a song, put her back in her place. So some women, as a matter of fact, uh, require the man to be dominant because they cannot be fulfilled. Their fancier psyche of a man cannot be is not weak. Certain, like I can imagine those Scandinavian women, like not imagining or entertaining other than those large, like Scandinavian men with swords and tough company and so on and so forth. So if somebody soft comes by like from my neck of the wood or from France or anywhere else, or they may kick him out, right? So case in point is you don't hit a woman to hurt her, but you have to make yourself the man of the house, meaning some women, not all. And they're apparently in Islam, we know about them to be very few. Some of them, those women, just don't get impressed by weak men. They really want real strong men. And that's the purpose of it, basic and simple. Now, I'm going to go back. This happens to be here widespread abuse, abuse of a woman. And you guys know the song of that woman, Vega, Susanne Vega, If you hear at night, some kind of trouble, some kind of fight, that means she's been getting hit and so on by her boyfriend or her man or something. So nobody can criticize us on Islam has treated the woman the best ever. A woman in Islam has the best status ever. So comes the man of social science, the maker of social science, Ibn Khaldun, right? He's from an ancient Arab tribe, but he was born for generations in Spain and so on. And I think he died there as well. And he was well respected even by those Castilians who wanted to drive out the Muslims. They invited him, and even one of them asked him if he would like to become his advisor in his palace, in his court, right? And he refused. He said thank you. And then he asked him. Now this is not as much the case. Why do you women cover their heads? We know he's going to impose the complete, removal of the headscarf and so on and so forth. And he convinced him actually that wait a minute, and he accepted his argument and allowed it. He says when women show themselves, right, it becomes a competition for man. Man will seek the higher or the more beautiful woman, right, and then abandons the ugly ones, right? What happens to those ugly ones? Do they not get married anymore? And even if they do, because when a man is still looking at a woman, right, and seeing there is a more beautiful woman that he interacts with, that's going to have bad influence on his own marriage. So that king or whoever it is, found it a very plausible argument, and he left the man, right? So a woman in Islam is almost always guaranteed marriage, guaranteed provision, guaranteed a family, guaranteed everything. And when I come to the West, whether, I was briefly in Germany and in Holland and in France and in Spain, and now long time in the US, and I've been to Canada, and I know I've lived with Black people, I've lived with South Americans, Central Americans, Arabs, you name it, white people. I have found out that the main purpose of a woman, her main quest in life, her main quest in life is a family, children, and a strong provider, right? Of course, things, would be fine if the man is handsome and so on. I read an article in an Australian news outlet or something years back that says that is advising women to lower their expectations, meaning if you really want to get married and have family and so on, you're not going to find Mr. Perfect or knight on white horse or something like that. You just have to lower your expectations. As if they're circling back after 1400 years and entering that Islamic concept again, right? I have been into shows, and last time, I was in North Carolina and I went to a horse racing, right? And the horse racing was like a German name, like Charlotte of Germany or something of the sort. I forgot what it was. And then I can clearly see there are women who are there to find a suitable, suitor. Some of them with children, and some of them are young. I found them okay. Of course, I didn't go and marry about like every woman in there. No, but fact of the matter is, you in the West, having removed the head cover, which used to exist in Europe outside of Islam, and still does in Eastern Europe, right? And now began to show parts of your body and so on and so forth, didn't make a difference really. I mean, as far as I see it, it put your women into a bind because now they're on their own trying to find a suitor, and sometimes they go through a number of them and sleep in their beds until they find the real suitor, the one who's going to settle down with them. No matter how you look at it, folks, my religion of Islam, Sunni Islam, has given the woman the perfect status, and it makes it obligation, and punishable by law, Islamic law, that a man shall provide for his family. In fact, Islam, there's so much going on, and they tell you about certain marriages, type of marriages, and so on. No. There's a muta marriage in the Shiites, that Gnostic religion or satanic religion or what it is, that you go marry for like money for a certain duration of time, as little as 2 hours, like in Iraq and Lebanon and Afghanistan and here and there. That's forbidden in Islam. That's totally forbidden. That's destroying the woman, right? And in Islam, a man becomes the perfect husband, like it or not. Not all perfect, of course, we're not all perfect. Now, here's the point. In Islam, if you cannot get married, if you cannot support a family, you cannot get married, period. And it makes it so hard for you to have your way around with women. It's impossible, right? So, and the Prophet says, like if you cannot bear the responsibility of spending, do not get married. How do you help yourself? Fast. He said fast. It lowers down your sexual drive. That's the Prophet Muhammad, the tradition of him, يا شباب الإسلام من استطاع منكم الباءة فليتزوج ومن لم يستطع فعليه بالصوم فإنه له وجاء. This is not a religious lecture here, but let those who are talking about our Prophet and us in India, we know who they are, still are, right? I see them here, I work with them here. I'm not putting them down, no. But if your house is made of glass, don't go throw rocks at a house made of steel and diamond. Number one, you're not going to influence it or hurt it or touch it or break it or anything else. But then the owners of that house know your facts and your lifestyle and know who you are. They will throw rocks at you. That's going to change your house of glass into shards, small shards, and you will be homeless. What I'm trying to say, I have seen that footage myself, black and white, a woman coming to throw herself on the pyre of her husband in India. That's a Hindu tradition. Don't give us that bullshit, man. Don't give us that bullshit. I love Indian people. Indian people are my people. There are some 500 million Muslims in India, and they're my people. And they're being treated, like outside of this bullshit that takes place between now and then, which is really, sometimes it's not Hindu. I know what they are. Could be Malabar, Kerala, and most likely that's what they are. Other than that, I have no quarrel with Hindu people. Now notice, they corrected their ways and means. Why? When Islam came, if I was a Muslim leader and I entered India, right, and I saw that they were burning their women with their men and their sexual practices and I would convert them myself, believe me. Because I feel about them that they are human beings and they should be rescued from their plight and their weird lifestyle. Have a nice day, my friends, and that's my video for today. June 6, 22. Prophet and his wife, who was 12 and a half years old.